What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we've got a game reaction to bring to you guys between the Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, the Chicago Bulls end up losing this game, and I've got to be honest, I'm not really surprised with the result whatsoever. I always thought that a game away from home for the Bulls is still a difficult task. You're versing a team that is competing for a play-in spot with us. What's disappointing about this loss is that the Raptors now have that tiebreaker against us, which means if the Bulls and the Raptors finishing this at the same record and around the same position, Toronto will get that advantage over the Chicago Bulls. We've done that to other teams. We did that with the Wizards, I believe, as well. We have the tiebreaker with Miami as well, but at the end of the day, we don't have that tiebreaker now against the Toronto Raptors. So look, with all that being said, we will continue to discuss the Bulls and the Raptors game in this video. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you believe we could have won this game against Toronto, as well as, again, what is the implication of, I guess, losing this type of game. We lost this game 104-98. And look, again, I mentioned that I'm not surprised, and there are a couple of reasons why. Obviously, Toronto, look, I think the biggest takeaway is that Toronto's defense was just too good for the Chicago Bulls. It was, because if you think about their offense, personally, I think the offense was worse than ours. I just think it is what it is, but their defense was fantastic. Their fourth quarter defense was fantastic. How many blocks, how many good, I guess, offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds and just good stops that they get in the fourth quarter. There were so many of them to count, and that's where I think the game was won and lost, because it was a close game, it was a tight game, but at the end of the day, their length, being tall, very active and switchable on every single person on this team, that helps them. Offensive rebounding helped them, and again, more shots at the end of the day helped them as well. There are two things that a lot of people will turn to as to why we lost this game, and I'll tell you why I'm very disappointed in some of the things that we saw today. One, again, I mentioned it already, offensive rebounding. The Toronto Raptors had 18 offensive rebounds compared to the Chicago Bulls. I think we're in the single digits, like 6 or 7 offensive rebounds, something along those lines, which again is a lot of offensive rebounds. And that does lead to the second thing that caused the Bulls to lose this game, and that is Toronto took around 24 more shots, I believe, in their entire game compared to the Bulls. And yes, you might look at the game and it was 104-98. It was a close game. Very, very close game to the bitter end. It was a great game to watch in terms of the physicality and defense of the game. But at the end of the day, if you allow a team to take that many shots, they're going to win the game. I've said it for a while. The team that usually takes the most shots will usually win the game. And I think because of the offensive rebounds, we allowed Toronto to take a lot more shots. And a lot of people will turn their mindset and their focus to Billy Donovan in this game as well. I believe there is a quote out there that Billy Donovan said that he understands that this starting five will not always be the starting five that we go with in the future. And there will be some games where we may have to start Patrick Williams. Well, I think the hypocrisy in that comment is ridiculous, because if there's any game to start Patrick Williams in, this is the game. Toronto are not the best three-point shooting team, but even if you take that away, the biggest threat, in my opinion, was the mismatches that Toronto capitalized on. Siakam in the post. You saw Scotty Barnes as well sometimes in the post, and just, again, running in transition and everything in between, everything like that. So, in my opinion, this is the perfect game to start Patrick Williams. Now, I don't think Patrick Williams changes the result of the game, to be honest, but what I will say is, I think he makes guys like Pascal Siakam second guess going into the post and trying to beat them in that way. With Alex Caruso on him, he didn't second guess anything. He went straight into that post. He went all the way into the paint. There were little to no double teams on Pascal Siakam until the second half, and then obviously they made the difference from there. And then they rotated, they switched, and obviously with those double teams, they were able to find open players, and open players made shots for them in, I guess, big moments. And that was a big difference. So again, I can't believe Billy Donovan would say something like that, and then in the one game that we need Patrick Williams to start, he didn't start in. So disappointing for Billy Donovan. And the fact that he didn't challenge one of the calls where it was clearly out of bounds on Fred VanVleet, disappointing on Billy Donovan's side of things. I think, it was not the best coached game against for any Bulls team, really. We've not been very well coached for a long time, but again, you can blame the coaching staff for parts of this loss. But again, I do think when it comes to offensive rebounding, it doesn't just fall on Patrick Williams' shoulders. It doesn't even just fall on the shoulders of our bigs and not Andre Drummond and Nikola Vucevic. Again, that I think is very unfair to say because Patrick Williams starts this game, we win because we get more offensive rebounds. Patrick Williams had 1 rebound, if I'm not mistaken. But when you turn to guys like DeMar and Zach and most of our guards, they had barely no rebounds. And that goes down to, in my opinion, work ethic. I think it goes down to the fact that they wanted to go in transition too much. And sometimes when they go out in transition, all the Toronto Raptors offensive rebounds, the majority of them were long rebounds. Were rebounds where it's not the center's responsibility. It's too far for them to go and grab a rebound like that. But that leaves the Raptors, who were staying in position to get these rebounds, and the Bulls players bolting to the other side of the court trying to get a layup. And sometimes you have to make those adjustments. And I don't know if Billy told them to make adjustments or not, but you got to do that. I think our guards, even if Toronto were bigger and stronger and, again, very much focused and primary focus was crashing in the glass, I think this Bulls team could have done much better, and we have done much better in the past against Toronto in terms of grabbing offensive rebounds. But nonetheless, Toronto were too good. It's as simple as that. Toronto's defense was too good, and they were rightfully the winners, and they were the better team. Their defense was immaculate. I'm not taking anything away from our defense. I thought our defense was good. The small ball lineup helped in many ways in terms of the perimeter, but there were clear mismatches there. And I've said it from the beginning as well. I like our starting 5. I like the balance of it. I like the idea of Vucevic, DeMar, and Zach as our 3 go-to offensive players, the guys that will really be focused on the offensive end. And I like the balance of Caruso and Beverly on the defensive end and being a nuisance on the defensive end. I like the matchup. I like the balance. But I said the biggest weakness in this lineup is that when you verse these strong athletic wings, you will get mismatched. You will notice that the Bulls are too small. You could say it worked out well for teams like the Brooklyn Nets and teams like the Wizards, but the Wizards weren't big in their game, and I don't think Brooklyn were that big either. Toronto, in almost every single position, they're bigger than the Bulls. From the shooting guard position to the center position, they are much bigger than the Chicago Bulls, and I think you saw it in this game. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, starting Patrick Williams might have helped. Maybe putting Andre Drummond and Vucevic in the lineup together may have helped. Maybe if you added a 6'7" Dalen Terry in there, something could have helped in that way. But their defense was too good, and they were just overall too big for the Chicago Bulls, and they created a lot of problems for us. And the last thing I want to say before I go, I think a big reason as to why we lost our game as well was there were too many players too hesitant to shoot the ball. I can recall a number of players that were too reluctant to shoot, and it ended up going into bad shots. Patrick Beverly was one of them. Not taking a wide open 3, cutting to the basket, shot clock violation. Patrick Williams has always been a guy that we turn to in one of these areas and say he's too reluctant to shoot sometimes. Kobe White was another one, too reluctant to shoot. There was an easy layup he could have got, but he passed it open to the 3-point line. Not necessarily great. Alex Caruso towards the end of the game had a nice floater opportunity at his disposal, and he decided to be patient and hold the ball, resulted in a turnover. And there's one more. I'm convinced there's one more that I'm forgetting, but I'm sure you guys can let me know in the comments below. But a number of opportunities wasted by this Bulls team. It's really, again, it is as simple as that. I can't say anything else besides of that. If you're hesitant to shoot, then again, it's like the Patrick Williams effect on everybody. Patrick Williams, one of the biggest things we saw about him is that he sometimes is reluctant or he's not aggressive. And that translated over to every single NBA player, every single Bulls player today. It's not just Patrick Williams, it's everybody today. Everybody was too reluctant to shoot. And again, that is also credit to Toronto's defense. They made us second guess ourselves. And that's something we've got to look forward to in the future. So disappointing. The must improve. Look, I don't have the stats with me. I've got to be honest. The must improve to me doesn't really matter. We lost. It is what it is. I think this whole team needs to improve. And I think the coaching staff needs to improve. I think it's as simple as that. The player of the game for me, I'm going to give it to Vucevic. Great 3-point shooting today. Very good in the paint as well. Probably our go-to offensive player. I think Zach LaVine had a good third quarter, which helped him and elevated his game. But outside of that, I think it's clear that it's Vucevic's player of the game today. Our next game is going to be against the Detroit Pistons. A tough game for sure. Difficult to overcome because, again, similar to the Raptors, Detroit, probably their biggest advantage is their size. Now, we've had a very good run of form against the Detroit Pistons, so you still expect the Bulls to, in some way, form or fashion, win that game. But again, it will be a challenge. And again, I don't expect Bulls to win any away games. I really don't. I think when you're mediocre, you're expecting the Bulls to lose away. And you're expecting Bulls to lose to teams that they should lose to as well. I expected the Bulls to lose this game. No disrespect. I know you should come into this game feeling confident. And look, I felt confident. I did. But there was something in the back of my mind. I said it in the Bulls Weekly as well. If the Bulls lost this game against Toronto, I expect it and I wouldn't be surprised. And that turned out to be what actually happened. So let's wait and see what ends up happening then. I'm not going to lose my mind over a setback. What happens is the response. We need to see a response from the Chicago Bulls. That's our next approach. That's what we got to do next. Let's see if we can do it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.